You're gonna be okay. We've got this. You're gonna be okay. We've got this. Notice how I said the same sentence in two different ways. Now imagine you are a healthcare professional or you are a patient. Which of these two phrases are going to be more collaborative, show or demonstrate more empathy, care, compassion, and really good communication skills from the healthcare professional who is treating the patient? Now, one of the main things that you're going to say is that the tonality in both of these sentences was completely different, and whichever tonality you related more with is the one that you're going to pick. However, one of the most underrated tools and resources that a healthcare provider has within them and can really be harnessed to its advantage in order to give your patients the best experience will be a healthcare professional's voice. So in this video, we're going to talk about what the power of the voice is and how you can leverage it to your advantage as a healthcare professional when it comes to connecting and collaborating with your patients. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me every single week to learn more strategies, experiences, listen to stories, and learn, look into a lot of things that can make you a much more empathetic, collaborative, and impactful healthcare professional. And that is essentially what this channel is all about, where I deliver weekly videos which cover all of these strategies that improve and enhance your communication skills as healthcare professionals whose English is not their first language and who want to connect, collaborate, and build a better impact, greater authority, and influence with their patients. My name is Shweta, and I'm the founder of Healthy Dynamics, and this is what my coaching practice and brand is really all about. So if you are a healthcare professional whose English is not their first language, but you still speak it at an intermediate level, you work in a country where the first language is English, or you work in a hospital where majority of your patients actually speak English as their first language, and you want to connect, collaborate, and build influence, authority, and trust with them, you've come to the right place in order to get weekly strategies, value, and experiences on how you can do. Already tell, I'm just about recovering from a pretty nasty cold, cough, and infection that I developed earlier this week. And I have to say, during this time, I actually lost most of my voice, so I pretty much had to walk around not really being able to record videos, not really able to do the work that I normally do. And I have to say, I felt like a part of my limb had already been cut off. That's how helpless and lost I felt without having my voice. Now, the reason being is because I'm one of those blessed, fortunate people for whom my voice has really been the instrumental factor in helping me connect with others. So when I meet somebody for the very first time, or I speak to them on a video call, or when I am on the phone with them, the very first thing or the compliment that I have always gotten from somebody who has never met me or doesn't know me that well is that I have such a good voice, spoken voice. And this is also the reason why my voice has also gotten me to to do a lot of singing. So I have done singing performances on most of the places that I have traveled to. I've won competitions and awards for it, and it's for the same reason that I also go on podcasts to not only share values and experiences and also grow my brand and platform, but also I have learned exactly how to make the most of my voice, because that's the one thing that people always remember about me, and that's the one factor that really helps build an impact in the people's minds of the ones that I come in contact with. And I also recently came in contact with a voice coach. Her name is Vasavi Kumar. I'm just going to leave her link over here. Even though we connected on Instagram, she's everywhere, and she's amazing because her whole brand is called Say It Out Loud. She's got a podcast, and what her motto is that you have to utilize the power of your voice to express and speak your mind and become more visible. So she talks about how to use your voice and become more visible, and that's what her coaching is all about. And so these are the prompts that really inspired me to make a video this week about how your voice can be a huge game changer in the way in which you as a healthcare professional can really make or break the relationship that you have with your patients. So your voice is more than just sound. It's more powerful than you think in terms of building trust, creating impact, and lead with confidence as a healthcare professional. And this is a skill that a lot of not just communication, such as coaches like myself, and also a lot of it's something that's very, very underrated, which is why I'm so passionate about it. And it's a skill that is quite overlooked by a lot of healthcare professionals. So people generally focus on things like how you improve your vocabulary, how you improve your grammar, how you improve your accent, but no one really talks about how they can make the most and get better at how they use their voice and project their voice. Saying that just because a lot of people are not as lucky as or privileged as I am in terms of having a very powerful voice, that means that you can't do it. That's not my point whatsoever. But with your existing voice is when you can really make a lot of difference in the lives of your patients in terms of how you harness it, utilize it, and project it. So in the very beginning of the video, where I looked at two scenarios with you when you're saying the same sentence but in different tonalities, yes, that obviously does play a huge part. But even if your tonality is more or less the same in all of them, the way in which you utilize is what is going to make a lot of difference. And this also ties really well with the non-verbal cues such as the warmth, the eye contact, body language, and remaining calm and things like that, which we will look at much later on in this video. So the tone of your voice, the pace at which you speak, and the energy with which you deliver your message can really alter or shape a patient's emotions and how reassured or otherwise they feel instantly, as well as the level of trust that they have in you. So even if English is not your first language and you're still working on finding the right words, the way in which you say something and how you use your existing voice can really be the game changer than a perfect grammar or your perfect vocabulary ever will. So let's now look into the three main components and qualities of having a powerful voice. So number one is calmness. Patients generally, when they come into a healthcare setting, they are very much like me. They're quite scared, they are quite anxious, they're overwhelmed, and they are obviously vulnerable in a lot of pain. So your voice can really be a calming anchor if you learn how to slow down, breathe between sentences, pause after delivering important information. Now this shows that you're in control and make you feel safe. Now I have to admit, during my time when I was working as a healthcare professional, and my role really was to be on the phone and speak to patients on a daily basis, even though I had this really good voice, what I would normally do, and this is because of the nature of the job that I was doing, I was having to rush through a lot of the information more often than not, because I had to meet targets like, your average handle time that you typically get in a contact center. But at the same time, after the feedback that I had got from my managers, this is what I realized, that okay, I have this good voice, but I'm also speaking to people who are patients, who are the most common challenges that I had were patients who were either elderly or like yourself, English was not their first language. So it was imperative that I actually do all these things. So that means I slow down and I pause and I, again, deliver the same information in a much more clear, succinct manner with a lot of examples and help, and take adequate pauses between when I'm giving vital information. Now, breathing exercises are really, really good, and someone like Vasavi would be very good if that's something that you would like to explore. So definitely get in touch with her and look at her resources. Now, it's not something that I'm particularly good at, but she can absolutely give you a lot of support on that. So say for example, if you may be a nurse, and regardless of which second language background you're from, and it's very normal for people, this nurse in particular, if you are, say, working with English speaking patients for the first time, and as a result of that you get nervous and you become a little bit like me. When you get nervous, when you get enthusiastic, and when you get passionate, you tend to talk very, very fast, and this will just generate more chaos and more lack of clarity and lack of certainty amongst your patients. And when, on the other hand, you do things like, remain calm, slow down, and have adequate and relevant pauses between the information that you're giving, it's going to make a lot of difference. The second point where voice can be very, very important is generating warmth. A warm tone in your voice can help make your patients feel like they matter and they're not just like a number in the system, like I always say. So say, for example, you can smile while you're speaking. And when you're smiling and you're speaking at the same time, it really softens the tone of your voice. And use the patient's name when appropriate. This is something that I had to do all of the time during my role as a healthcare, working in the healthcare system. And use genuine phrases to demonstrate empathy, compassion, and care. So things like, that must be tough, or I hear you. So this really goes into talking about you're speaking from the heart. So rather than a lot of healthcare professionals, they get into the phase of, I want to sound more like a leader, I want to be a thought leader, I want to be an authority figure. And all of that is absolutely fine, but real leadership and true leadership and showing authority really comes from showing genuine compassion, care, which is demonstrated and illustrated from the tone of your voice. And clarity, very, very important. You don't have to sound like a native speaker, like all healthcare professionals from English as a second language backgrounds. This is a trap that they fall into. But your voice needs to be very, very clear. So this is about pronunciation, pausing, and emphasis. So looking at things like emphasizing key words when explaining something complex, pause between ideas so that patients can understand, reiterate and even get their thoughts on whether they've understood it or not, and keep your language and sentences short, sweet, and succinct, and also keep it and be direct and get to the point, rather than going around in circles. And this has got nothing to do with your accent. This is just exactly how you use your existing voice and do all of these things without having to change your accent, or without even having to change the fundamentals of your voice in and of itself, in order to not just hide your identity, but also making your message land with your patients. Now, how you can leverage your voice to build trust, influence, and authority. There are 3 ways in which you can do this, or 3 different scenarios in which you can do this. So number 1 is when you're delivering bad news. So if you're in that situation, use a steady, gentle tone and make space for silence for the patient to be able to share what's on their mind and express their feelings and emotions. And the other scenario would be a patient who's not following through instructions, who's not following the treatment plan. So instead of sounding frustrated or really demonstrating that you're not, that you may be experiencing some sort of an unpleasant feeling, use a tone that's quite firm but also shows a lot of kindness. And also give reassurance before a procedure. So in that situation, which is exactly what happened to me just before I went into surgery last year for my left clavicle, lower your pitch slightly, speak slowly and directly, and make eye contact. And there are 4 ways in which you can enhance your vocal presence and leverage the power of your voice, and how you can work on this. One of the most fundamental and important things is recording yourself. Now, did you know that 99% of people don't like the sound of their voice? This is something I recently found out from, again, Jay Shetty's podcast, and the guest who had come into on that podcast was again a vocal and communication coach. Was the one who mentioned that majority of people don't like the sound of their voice. So recording yourself, just like what I do here, you can do it from a recording device on your phone where you're just listening to the voice, or you can do it via audio. So, or you can read out aloud or simulate a patient interaction. This is something that I talk a lot about in my actual coaching program, where I get my clients to do a lot of these things and reflect on it. Is the pace of my voice rush or steady? Do I sound warm and willing to connect with somebody else? And am my ideas getting lost in long sentences and complex information being delivered? Practice pausing. Before you go from one piece of information to the next, hum or speak slowly with exaggerated clarity. This warms up your vocal cords and gets you focused. A third strategy that I would recommend would be do vocal warm-ups. So doing things like, again, breathing exercises and speaking slowly with a lot more clarity. What I would recommend is practice, get very good at pausing and take short pauses in between important information. This will give your patient time to digest and build your confidence as well. And practice reading out aloud short phrases with intention, and you can also record this. I'm here to help, let's figure this out together. State them with warmth, confidence, and care. So here's what I want you to remember, but towards the end of this video. Your voice is not just a sound and something that you use on a daily basis. It's your presence, it's how you build your credibility, it's how you build compassion, and it's the number one tool to leverage your influence, authority, and build trust with your patients. So even if your your first language is not English, your voice can 100% be a major superpower if you use it with intention. So to stay tuned for more tips and strategies on how you can use different parts of whatever existing skills you have and improve on it to become a much more collaborative, empathetic, and communicative healthcare professional, make sure that you hit the subscribe button on the channel. Leave a like on this video and leave any thoughts and comments on on the comment section below. And as always, thank you very much for your time, presence, and attention, and I shall see you next week.